Welcome to Season 6 of the Get Out of Teaching podcast. This podcast is for teachers who are considering leaving education and need some support. I'm your host, Elizabeth Diakos. I'm a career transition coach and the host of the Get Out of Teaching private membership community, where we support teachers with the resources they need to create a life they love. Find out more at www.getoutofteaching.com. In this season, we'll be speaking with former teachers who have set themselves up in business, as well as some business coaches and solopreneurs who can inspire you as you plan your exit, especially if you've been thinking of creating your own business. Come along for the ride as we get out of teaching. Episode 10. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. On today's show, I'm really pleased to be speaking with Brandon Leibowitz, who's a digital marketing specialist who helps you increase traffic to your website. Thanks for coming on the show today, Brandon.
Thanks for having me on today.
So, Brandon, you're not my usual kind of guest. Usually I mainly talk to ex-teachers who've gotten out of teaching and then who've moved into something new. But in the case of interviewing you today, I was really curious to find out a little bit more about what happens once you've set up your website. If you're setting up a business and you set up your website, how do you get people to come and actually look at that website, and how do you drive traffic to your business from there? So tell us all about that.
Well, I mean, it's tons of different strategies.
Well, maybe first of all, maybe tell us what a digital marketing specialist does and what is search engine optimization. Maybe start there.
Yeah, so I help people get more traffic to their website using different strategies such as social media marketing. You could do email marketing. You could run paid ads. You could do SEO, search engine optimization, which is getting you up organically. So when you search in Google, there's ads at the top. Those are all paid ads where if you click on those ads, that company is paying Google. Could be a couple cents per click. It could be a couple dollars per click. It could be a couple $100 per click. It gets very expensive. So the ads, those are all paid, but right below the ads is the free organic listings. And SEO is all about getting you in those free listings. So you're not paying every time someone clicks onto your website.
Right, I understand. Okay, so how do you go about getting an organic listing?
Yeah, so you got
I've got my website. It's called Get Out of Teaching, because I imagined that if I was going to be Googling how do I leave education, I might type in how do I get out of teaching, and that's why I chose that name. Literally, that's why. Was I on the right track? Is that the kind of thing we should be thinking about? What are people going to Google?
Yep, you got to think of what they're going to Google and write content about it. So if that's what you think people are going to search, well, you'd also want to do keyword research first to make sure people actually search for it. But once you find topics, then you want to write content about it, because if you don't write the content about it, Google's not going to think you're relevant. So if you have a page dedicated to answering that question or whatever it may be, that keyword that you're focused on, that's going to be the best. The more pages you have, the more keywords you can target, the more relevant you become, and the more likely Google's going to want to show you versus someone else. Because if you have a page dedicated to that specific word or phrase, that makes you hyper relevant. And each page can only target about 3 to 5 words max. After that, kind of loses relevancy. So if you want to target more than 3 to 5 keywords, you need to create more pages. And the easy way to do that is just blog, create a blog, add more content that way.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you need to become an expert in your field and then write about that so that people, that when they're searching, that's what they're going to find.
Yep, Google feeds off text content. The more content you have on your website, the more they're going to be able to read, understand, and figure out what keywords you're targeting and rank you for the right words. But it all comes down to content. The more content you have, the better. The more pages you have, the better off you're going to be.
Okay, so if someone gets onto a website, and let's we'll keep using mine as the example. When they get there, they're going to see, different content. And are you saying you've got to write more? Because I feel like when people come onto the website, they don't want to read reams and reams of text. They just want to get a basic idea about what you do. Am I wrong in that?
Yep, nope, that's what people want, but we're optimizing for search engines. So for Google, they want text. People, they want videos, images, value proposition, a strong call to action above the fold, where whatever you see on the screen, that's called above the fold. 70% of people never scroll down on the website. So you have to have a value proposition, letting people know what's in it for me, above the fold, a strong call to action, maybe a video or some bullet points. But then at the very bottom, because you got to think most people never scroll down. So got to make it optimized for people. But then at the very bottom below all that, you put all this text, because search engines read from top to bottom. People don't read from top to bottom. They skim and browse and skip the last spots. But Google will read from top to bottom. So you put all that content at the very bottom of each page on your website. And this is every single page on your website needs text. That's going to help them read, understand, and rank you for the correct keywords. But without that content, they can't really, Google can't read images or videos yet. They struggle. They're getting better at it, but they rely heavily on text for now.
Okay, so basically we need to be creating more content that is relevant to the audience, that are the kinds of things that they would search for, but that they may not necessarily want to actually read themselves.
You have to have that balance. Optimize the website for people, but also for Google. Because if you just optimize for people, if you're not getting traction, or if you're not getting visitors, it doesn't do any good. So gotta get people to your website first by optimizing for Google. And then you start testing your website, conversion rate optimization, how to optimize your website to maximize conversions. Then you can start testing, A/B testing your website, different landing pages, different text, different creatives, and seeing what resonates and what gets the most conversions.
Okay, so just going back, you said above the fold. So is that like an old-fashioned newspaper? Like you're looking at the top half of the page? Is that really what that's about?
Yeah, so whatever you see on a website, when you search, or I mean, when you open up a website, whatever you see on the screen, that's above the fold. Below the fold is once you start scrolling, and most people never scroll down.
Yeah, okay, got it. All right, and you said something else a minute ago, and it's gone out of my head now. So you're talking about, you're using all this language that I've heard before, but maybe the audience hasn't necessarily heard. So you talked about search engine optimization. How do we go about choosing those keywords?
There's a lot of different strategies, but I would just make a list of keywords that you think are relevant. So just start writing out a bunch of keywords, and then you could use a tool like the Google Keyword Planner. It's a free tool, or you could buy a tool, but Google gives you a free tool that will let you put a keyword in there, or a couple keywords, and they're going to give you thousands of variations of that keyword, and it will show you how many people search for it every single month. So then you can figure out 0 people search for this keyword. Maybe I don't want to focus on this one, or 10 people search for it. No, but if I use a plural or a singular, maybe I'll get 5,000 searches, because it makes a big different little changes of singular, plural, synonyms, the order of the words. So keyword research is the first starting point. And then from there, you sprinkle the keyword all over your website, and the content and the coding and things like that. But most important thing is try to figure out what keywords you want to focus on.
And okay, so what can you give us an example of what that might be?
So for myself, I do SEO. So I would want to rank for
search engine
SEO
optimization. Just remember, we're talking to an audience that might not have yet set up in business, and they're about to embark on this journey. And so we need to kind of just make it so they exactly understand what you're talking about.
So yeah, if we're a lawyer, you'd probably want to rank for keywords like lawyer near me, attorney near me, or it depends what type of law. But if you're doing like product liability law, you'd want to rank for product liability lawyer, product liability lawyers, product liability attorney, product liability attorneys, or attorneys that specialize in product liability, lawyers that specialize in product liability. So you're hitting all the different variations, the singulars, the plurals, but you do the keyword research, then you can figure out which one of those 10 or 20 keywords that you come up with actually gets the most searches, because each one of them that I said, like product liability lawyer, product liability lawyers, it's going to get different search volume. So that's where you got to figure out, do I want to use that, or do I want to use the keyword attorney, because that's a popular keyword for, or word for a lawyer in the United States, but might be different in other countries. So you also have to account for who your audience is, what country are you targeting, what are the industry slang terms and jargon that they might use, because different cities, states, countries, they're all going to use different words, variations, spellings. So you got to make sure you accommodate the right audience.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed that I didn't realize is in Australia, when you do your resume, at the bottom you write your references, but I would write they're my referees. They're the people who I'm going to get to speak with you. And the thing that they give is the reference. Whereas in the States, you talk about the person who's giving the reference as the reference. And so just a slight shift in language, but I've had quite a bit of confusion just around that one word.
I know it makes a big difference. All these little different things, like for UK versus USA, they spell things differently with an S or a Z. So it's all similar words, but slightly different. And if you're using the wrong variation, it's going to stick out, especially if you're trying to target that audience. Or you'd be like, why are you using the UK version when I'm in the United States, or vice versa? So it's going to throw them off.
Yeah. No, I noticed that too, because I feel like a Z is wrong because we've grown up with an English spelling. But yeah, of course, if I'm talking to people in the States, I need to consider that. Maybe I need two websites, one for the UK and Australian audience and one for the States.
Or you just translate it. Don't make two websites. That'd be too much work, but you just have to translate it over.
So what do you mean by that?
So like if you go to like any big corporate website, they'll, like McDonald's, they'll have a Japan version. It's like mcdonalds.com/Japan maybe, or something like that. Or so you could have multiple variations targeting different languages of your website.
Right. Okay. All right.
I don't build websites, so I'm not sure how you do all that, but there's lots of ways to code it, putting like href tags, I think, that shows what language that's in. So Google and the search engines can pull that in and serve it to the right audience if they're in the United States, or if they're in Japan, Australia, whatever they are, they could target that correct spelling.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you said before, excuse me, that there's that Google has a way of helping you work out what are good words. What's the name of that again?
It's called the Google Keyword Planner.
The Google Keyword Planner. Okay, I'm going to go and Google that at the end of this conversation.
It's a good tool.
Yeah, great. And so, Brandon, what else should we be thinking about apart from keyword optimization? What else is there to consider?
So you need to build what are called backlinks. You got to get other websites talking about you. The more websites that talk about you, the more trust Google gives to you, and the higher they're going to rank you. So backlink is just a clickable link from another website that points to yours. So if you're reading an article on, let's say, entrepreneur.com, and in there it says Brandon Leibowitz, and you click on it and it goes to my website, I'd be getting a backlink from entrepreneur.com. The more websites that link to you, the more trust Google is going to give to you. And then they're going to look at the keywords on your website. But it doesn't work the other way around. Without those backlinks, Google's not really going to rank a website. So that is the most important part, is getting Google to trust you, because Google just does not trust anybody.
Right. Okay. So going back to our lawyer or attorney, how would they go about doing that?
So there's tools that will show me my competitors' backlinks, and I can just spy on who's on that first page of Google, look at all their backlinks, and one by one try to reach out to those sites, because if they're on that first page of Google, it's more than likely because of those backlinks. And if I acquire similar backlinks, that's going to hopefully get Google to trust me and rank me for those keywords. So you have to buy these tools. They're called, there's a bunch of different ones, but some of the bigger ones are called Moz or Ahrefs, Ahrefs, or another one is SEMrush. But you just kind of pick one, buy that tool, and that will show you anyone's website, but it'll show you all your competitors' backlinks. So you can just spy on them and see what's working for them and utilize those backlinks, because if they're on that first page of Google, it's more likely because of the backlinks. So search in Google for your keywords, see who's on that first page of Google, and look at their backlinks. Don't just look at your competitors, look at who's on that first page of Google. That's your competition. Online and offline is different. If you have a bunch of competitors offline, but none of them rank on Google, that's not who we care about. We're not going to look at their backlinks. If Wikipedia is on that first page of Google, and you're like, why is Wikipedia here? I'm a lawyer. I'm not competing against Wikipedia. But if they're on that first page of Google, that is your competition. And that's who you have to outrank.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And I guess then how do you decide, how do you outrank Wikipedia? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that one would probably be very, very tough, if not impossible, but you can do it over time. You just got to build more trust, build more backlinks, essentially.
Yeah. And so in the case of the lawyer, who are the kind of people who are going to recommend them or have them as a backlink on their website?
It's just directories, maybe like TripAdvisor, or Yelp is big in the United States, or Google Maps, Apple Maps, Bing Maps, Yellow Pages, but getting on like lawyer websites, or maybe had a big case and they're on the news. So they'll be written up on those news channel websites. So partnering up with other lawyers, maybe they could write about each other, build relationships with other people. But it's all about looking at your competitors and seeing what's working for them, because everyone's going to have a different strategy, and you got to look at what they've done, what strategy they're utilizing.
Okay, so actually writing, I like that idea of like collaborating with other people in the same field, but writing about each other, especially if you might have a slightly different service. That could be a really great way forward.
Yep, definitely, especially if you're not competitors. If you're dealing with like a lawyer in one city and you're in another city that's far away, maybe, or another state or another country, then you're not really competitors. Cities maybe, but states, you're not gonna be really competing. So then you can build that relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess in my case, maybe there's other people who are, pitching their product or their service to the same audience as me, but they're not an actual competitor.
Yep. So tapping into their audience and helping one another out, that's going to be the best.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just thinking, I have one client who I've worked with to help her to get out of teaching, and she wanted to set up an event management business. So like catering for weddings, but more than that, helping them set up the entire event. And so she wasn't actually going to do the catering or whatever herself, but coordinate all of the other suppliers. So they would be a great person to, like, you could have each supplier writing about her service and she could be writing about their services.
Yep. Helping tap into each other's audience and getting those backlinks. It's all about getting creative, just trying to figure out, thinking outside the box. But looking at your competitors' backlinks, you'll see exactly what they've done, what websites they're published on. And if someone's writing about your competitor, they probably would write about you. You just got to pitch them or get creative and just figure out what angle you're going to utilize to get them to want to write about you.
Well, when I Google myself, and admitted, like, because all my, I guess it's not a fair comparison, because when I go in, it's like my computer knows what I'm going to look for, and so it sends me, to the pages. But if I go in incognito, what comes up is actually this podcast more than me. I don't, my website doesn't come up the top, the podcast does. So people are talking about the podcast, or maybe when I write about it, that's enough. It gets enough traffic that way. What else could we be doing, or what else could a small fledgling business be doing to generate leads to their website, apart from the search engine optimization?
Well, there's tons of different ways to get traffic: email marketing, running paid ads, social media, word of mouth, referrals. They can even run like print ads, go traditional, run like TV ads if they want, which maybe not. Those are pretty expensive, when you can run YouTube ads for pennies on the dollar and still get that visibility and exposure and hyper target it. But there's just so many different ways. It's all about knowing who your audience is and where are they, because that's what matters. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be where your audience is at.
And so how is that? How do you work that out? So say my event management client is wanting to work out where her audience is. So she's obviously providing a service. It's an in-person service. She's located in, in a country town. So she's going to be targeting the people in that town and the surrounding small towns. How do you actually go about doing that?
Doing what part? Sorry.
Oh, so how do you find people? How do you get people to find you when you're not offering an online service? Like when I talk to clients, I rarely meet them in person. I very rarely would meet anyone in person. And usually if I do, it's a social thing after we finish working together, and I might be visiting their city or their town, and I'll try and, have a coffee with them or something. But if I'm offering a service that is something where people have to come to me into, physically, how do you promote that? And how does that differ from an online service?
No, you promote the same way. It's building the website and ranking it on Google. And when people get to your website, they could just contact you, find your address, and go directly to your address. Just like you build a website, if you're selling a product, they can buy the product there. If you're offering a service, they could check out the service or contact you there. If you have a physical location, you just put the address there and say, come in if you want. You can get on like Google Maps, Apple Maps, Bing Maps, Yellow Pages, MapQuest, all these maps as well. That's going to help you show up in more of the maps and get that visibility, TripAdvisor and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, it's kind of in some ways more simple, because they might be looking for, event manager near me, for instance. And so then that the maps would be a really important part of that.
Yep, getting in Google Maps. Yeah, Google My Business, or they keep changing the name, but getting in the Google Maps. And the way to rank higher in the maps is you got to be on all these other websites like Yelp, Yellow Pages, TripAdvisor, MapQuest. The more maps you're on, the higher you're going to rank in Google Maps.
Nice. Okay. So what else do we need to be thinking about in order to get as much traffic? What other strategies would you use in your business to help people get more traffic to their website?
Yeah, I would just try to figure out who your audience is and where are they, and take a step back, put yourself in the user's point of view. If you're searching for your product or service, where would you go? That's going to help you figure out where you need to be and how to get a strategy and kind of build a game plan from there. So
Brandon, how do people find you for your service?
Yeah, so for everyone that's tuning in, I create a special gift for them if they go to my website, SEO Optimizers.com. That's SEO Optimizers.com/gift. They can find that there along with all my contact information, and offer free website consultations. So I'll check out your website for free and give you feedback from what's working, what's not working from an SEO point of view. They want to book some time on my calendar there. And also I've done a bunch of classes over the years, and I just throw them all up there for free as well. So if they want to learn more about pretty much all the topics we talked about, I have classes that go step by step and show them how to actually implement all that stuff. And it's all free on that page.
Wow, that's very generous. So, and you're offering a free kind of an audit of the website as well.
Yep, from an SEO point of view. So if they have a website, want me to check it out, they could book some time there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so Brandon, what in your role, what's the biggest challenge that you face?
Well, it'd probably be just trying to stay up to date with Google. Google's changing every single day. So just trying to figure out what changes Google's going to do next, and trying to figure out what's going to happen and anticipate it, which could be tricky because no one really knows how it works, but just trying to stay up to date with all those changes is tough.
Right. And just, I was just thinking as you were speaking then, what about LinkedIn? And because, a lot of people are out, they're looking for a job or a new role, or they're trying to create something. Is LinkedIn important in that whole Google space, do you think?
Not for SEO, but if you're trying to get a new job, then LinkedIn is definitely going to help out. But for search engine optimization, it doesn't really help out.
So is Facebook more important in that case, or Reddit?
No, none of those sites. You need to be on sites that are related to you. So if you're a teacher, you need to be on teaching related sites. Being on Facebook doesn't do any good. Doesn't help out. Reddit's not where you need to be on sites that are related to you. You need to be on sites about schools, learning, education. That's what Google wants to see. If you're on sites about social media, Google's going to think you're a social media website.
Right. Okay.
Which if that's what you're targeting, that's fine. But if you're not a social media site, you need to be on sites that are related to what you're doing for SEO.
Yeah. Okay. So, but if somebody, say they're on Reddit and they say, oh, you want a lawyer, you should go to this website, the attorneys.com, say, for instance, is that going to help with your search engine optimization, that there's that backlink in another platform?
Yeah, but you need to be on sites that are related to you. So Reddit's not related to you. You need to be on sites that are related to you. That's a big thing with the backlinks, is not being on any website, but being on sites that are related to what you're doing. Yeah. That's what's going to help move you up the rankings. If you're on just random sites, it actually does more harm than good. But Reddit's not a bad one, but it has no relevancy because it's about every topic. You need sites that are focused on one specific topic. If you're a lawyer, you want to be on sites about the legal system, about law, about judges, about lawyers, about juries, about whatever, law school, anything related to what you're doing. That's where you need to be. If you're a teacher, you want to be on like sites related to like school, education, learning, children, parenting, anything somewhat related. It doesn't have to be other teachers. Parenting is related to what you're doing. Children related to what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. I think. And so with all of those things, it sounds like this is huge. This is a huge, like, this is like a sea of different strategies that you can use to optimize. What do you recommend for someone who's just starting out? What would be the best place to begin? Apart from calling you, of course, but before they even do that, what should they be thinking about when they set up their website right at the very beginning?
Well, they should just try to figure out who their audience is and what's going to resonate with them, how to write the content to resonate with them, write good content, plan out the structure of your website, look at your competitors, spy on them, see what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, so you can have ideas of what you want to incorporate.
And would you recommend that someone write their own content, or that they should pay someone, a content creator?
That one doesn't matter. Whatever works best. If you have time to write it, great. If not, pay someone, but it doesn't really matter. It's up to you.
Because I hear a lot of, like, and I encounter a lot of people who are writing content, they're copywriters, and they talk about that search engine optimization. Do you need to be an expert to be able to write content that's going to be found?
You need to know some basic things, where to put the keywords, how to write the content, but that's kind of it. You don't really need to know too much.
So
anyone can write content. Yeah, anyone can write content.
If the keywords are above the fold, at the top of the page, that's a good place to start.
No, you just need to put the keyword on the website. It doesn't matter where it's at, just somewhere. But it would make sense to put it at the top. If someone's searching for a lawyer, probably want to have the word lawyer there. It wouldn't make sense if you don't have it there, but you don't necessarily need to, but it kind of makes sense to put it up there, but it doesn't matter where you put it.
Okay. All right. So you did say before that we're trying to attract the person, but we also need to make Google see it as well. All right. So as we wrap this up, Brandon, what else should we be thinking about? What question should I have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I think we covered it all for the most part.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Brandon Leibowitz, thank you so much for coming on the Get Out of Teaching podcast today. It's been a really interesting conversation.
Thanks for having me on today.
You've been listening to the Get Out of Teaching podcast with your host, Elizabeth Diakos. If you want to hear the conversation that continued after we stopped recording, you'll find that in the After the Bell section of the Get Out of Teaching private membership community, where along with a heap of resources to support you, you'll get access to group coaching with me. Join a community of teachers who are ready right now to plan their exit. Find out how at www.getoutofteaching.com. I've been where you are now, and you don't have to do this alone.